Hello, buddy. This is Jeff Allen, and I saw Sudhir's post today on LinkedIn about the issue of thinking that you can be either a linguist or a natural language processing or a speech engineer, and can you do one? Can you have to do one or both, one or the other, not both? And this really is great because I've been talking about this for a number of years, and I've been giving some explanations of this, of me and how I do this. And I've never made a video about it actually, so I've decided to make a video today about this. And what I've done usually to explain the difference between let's call this the difference between a linguist and a computational linguist. I kind of make this kind of general. I don't want to make it only about speech because I think this covers all of natural language processing, whatever it may be. It can be text and it can be speech. It can be even images, whatever, semiotics. It can be a lot of different fields. But I think the key cardinal difference between, again, a linguist and a computational linguist is the following. I'll start with the computational linguist because that's the bigger one, right? So a computational linguist, what they focus on is dealing with the 80% of the problems. So this is the Pareto kind of principle, right? The 80-20. So a computational linguist he wants to focus on resolving 80% of the issues out there from scripts and things that will cover the maximum amount of similar cases. That's how a computational linguist usually tries to deal with things. I'm saying usually. I'm not trying to say that. I mean, there are special cases, right? But their goal is to deal with the maximum cases, about 80%. Not an exact number here, but the Pareto Principle, right? So they're going to try to find a bunch of scripts. They're going to try to do things that will get the most leveraging off of a lot of different cases, trying to get, again, that 80% of all, deal with this, do this, and write some scripts that will cover 80% of the cases. And then the 20% of the issues that they can't resolve, then they'll deal with that afterwards, right? That's, in general, how a computational linguist is going to try to approach things, in general. Now, linguists, let's put on the other side of the fence. What does a linguist do? And I started as a trained linguist in theoretical linguistics and applied linguistics. And my mentor is a linguist, and I've worked on a lot of linguistic, like the linguist list. I'm on the board and stuff, and I've been on the board for 20 years. And so I know a lot of linguists, right? And I'm not going to separate that from being a translator interpreter. I'm just saying linguist in general, theoretical linguistics. Now, how does a theoretical linguist or applied or theoretical linguist, how do they think? They don't think about the 80%. They think about the 20% that makes them different, the niche areas that makes them special, that they can shine out there and show that they can focus on the 20% of things that other people don't do, right? So they're always trying to resolve the small details, the things that no one else is working on, right? Or hopefully no one else is writing, so they can write a paper about it to show how they found something or did something that no one else has done, right? And I got a lot of papers like that. I've got several papers that are unpublished just about this topic of linguistics and certain things that no one else has done, right? I haven't gotten time around to finish on these papers and publish them after 20, 30 years, even some of these things, because it takes time to actually get the data, to do it, to analyze it, and then prove something that's actually going to be provable, right? Or supportable and defendable. So a linguist is going to focus on the 20%, and each one of them is trying to focus on their small 20% of the overall picture. And they're not going to try to focus on things that are general. Now, language teachers are different. Language teachers are going to cover things 80%, but I'm talking a linguist that's really focused on the linguistic article, the specific things. So, and I've used both on both sides to support what Sudhir said about this. I mean, I can think of having worked on speech processing systems after having after being a linguist and a phonetician, a phonologist, and having done my doctoral work on this, right? And then went off to develop the speech system. And then what we did is we wrote some papers about. In our papers about the Haitian Creole speech translation system, about the data, I actually brought in all the linguistic focus on that, about a speech data and speech processing system, how to process speech data from a linguistic point of view, right? About phonology and how to apply the phonology to it. I think it was called are there one, two, or three phonemes in Haitian Creole? R, W, and something else. I get a French version, English version. The exact name you got to look up in my bibliography on my papers. But in that one, we actually talked about trailing phonemes, preceding phonemes, and all the things that in phonology you worry about and you think about. But we took it from a computational point of view based on all the data that we had, that we'd recorded, and that we were able to process using that framework of phoneme juxtaposition and all these things next to each other. So we wrote a paper on that. Chris Hogan and I did, and both in French and English. We did two of them, and it was really good. I think it was a really good paper for that. But on the other side of the thing, and just what Sudhir is saying, that you can benefit. So that's where computational linguistics benefited from linguistics. Okay, so that's one case. I'm trying to give some specific examples here because it's easy to be too general and all that. But what's the other side where how linguistics benefits from computational linguistics? Well, I've done a lot of these, text and speech processing systems. And I worked in some image stuff and gestural kind of stuff, and now I'm working on, in some of my talks and videos, I'm explaining how the processing, the computational processing or natural language processing kind of perspective has made me think how I see it from a linguistic view differently now. And I'm constantly looking at dialectology and looking at the analysis of languages, whatever language may be, thinking about how I can meet not just the 20%, but how I can actually meet the 80% more and more, and how we can do more better things, and how we can deal with more with like spelling converters and spelling checkers and all that kind of stuff. But not looking from a pure linguistics point of view, but taking the perspective how we can do the processing part, how we can do that. And this is something I'm constantly doing. So I just want to, give a shout out to Sudhir for thanks for saying this, because I've been thinking about this a long time and talk. I say that I talk about these things, especially the 80-20% all the time on this topic about the difference between computational linguists. And it's something that there's a debate, right? And even the translators too. I mean, there's debate actually among linguists. I'll say this. I'm daring to say this. That a lot of linguists consider that language teachers that do a lot of applied linguistics, everybody is applied linguistics, they're like a substandard group, right? I mean, this is depending on the linguist, right? So, but there's this idea that you do applied linguistics, right? You do the stuff that's applied. We do the theoretical stuff. This is elitism kind of thing. Not everybody has this. I'm not going to say everybody has this, but I've seen enough to. It's there. And so, but then there are a lot of translators and people that they say they're linguists. I mean, I post on a linguist on LinkedIn today about linguists are translators, and I almost said the thing, but that's not linguistics. I mean, they're saying that good translators do linguistic analysis. No, they're not always doing well. They're not doing a linguistic theoretical analysis. They're doing an applied approach to it, but they're not applying linguistic framework to things. They're just using their knowledge, right? They're using knowledge about language, which is okay. So there's a lot of in this overall thing. It's kind of complicated because, or it's a battle, right, between different subgroups, and the translators are consider themselves linguists, and they even call themselves linguists. And linguists are, as a term actually for the U.S. Army interpreters, they're called terps. But they're linguists. That's what they call linguists, which is they actually haven't studied linguistics. They studied language, right? So I'm not trying to degrade anybody. I'm just saying this is how I've seen it. I've been on boards and been on like the Translator Cafe moderated board and pros.com stuff, and you see all these debates. And I say, folks, we just need to understand there are different flavors of what linguistics is, and there's theoretical linguistics, and then there's applied, and then there's different areas of applied, and then computation. These are all kind of sub areas of everything, right? But they're all overlapping, and they all really they all influence each other in different ways. But I just kind of, again, just want to support what Sudhir said here, give a couple examples and say how I've seen it, and I will continue seeing this for a very long time, right? Because this is not there's not just one single flavor of milk on this, right? It's all kind of it's a snow cone with all different flavors, right? So that's the schizophrenia of linguistics, right? Have a good day.